Cheers, folks. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. 21st Century Caveman here. Hope everybody's safe, hope everybody's well. So today is the second part of the video, the question and answer session. So in the first video, you ladies and gentlemen ask the questions. Today's video, I'll provide the answers to those questions, and I want to do this about once a month. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to run through the questions which you kindly asked of me, and I'm going to respond to those the best way I can. I've got my laptop to my right hand side here, so I'll keep referring to that. That will be my prompt for this video, so I don't mean to be rude, please excuse me for looking over there on a regular basis. So what I'm going to do then, just read down the questions as I want to come across them. So first question then, from Sea Green Spiral. Thank you very much for your question. How did you find the masonry paint on the OSB boards? Well, the masonry paint's been absolutely fine. I will say that because it's a very light paint, it does show up bits of dirt, and if I do any projects in the man cave, then yeah, it gets grubby quite quickly, but you've got to expect that given the fact that it's such a light colour. In terms of durability, yeah, it seems to be absolutely fine, although we must bear in mind the fact that I don't use this sort of man cave as a hardcore workshop as such, so these surfaces aren't actually taking much of a battering, if I'm honest with you, so it's more decorative, just to give it a better aesthetic in here rather than for purely practical purposes. So yeah, it's holding them absolutely fine, but it hasn't exactly had a lot of stick, but I'm happy with it anyway. So we have another question then. Anthony Acton, thank you very much indeed for your question, Anthony. Now, hi Des, love your channel. What happened to all of the projects from last year? Also, how did you get on with your acrylic paints? More importantly, I wanted to get your thoughts on vapor barriers. I know you stress it's important to use in a build like yours, but I wanted your opinion on other materials, for example sheep's wool, polyester insulation. I ended up using polyester in the end, which is a recycled plastic. Didn't bother to use a vapor barrier. I'm just paraphrasing this, by the way. It's quite a long message. Yeah, so the building is currently bone dry. It's been lined with OSB. There doesn't seem to be many videos around on the topic of vapor barriers, and he mentioned rock wall insulation. Again, take care, Anthony. Thanks, Anthony. So there were 2 or 3 questions there. So with regard to all of the projects I was going to do at the end of last year, they're still on my to-do list, I'm afraid. The C word got in the way, and I just never got around to doing them. So I've still got to clear up the UPVC. I've got to renovate that. I've still got to do the repointing. I've also, on top of that list, I've got to put a new UPVC front door on the house. I hope to do that within the next few weeks. I'll also do a video on that as well. So all of those have basically been put on the back burner. In terms of the acrylic paints, ditto. They're still in a box somewhere here in the man cave, and it's one of those things whereby, because in the winter months I do get very depressed, my anxiety levels are normally quite high, and I just wanted something to get me through that sort of dark period of the year, because of the stresses associated with that time of year, on top of the C word. Basically, I ended up sleeping a lot of the time, which is why my channel's never that busy during the sort of winter months. So they're still there on the back burner, basically. Now, you also asked me for an opinion on different types of insulating material. The fact is, Anthony, I'm not an expert. I'm a DIY chap, and all I can tell you about are the products which I've used, which I will have researched. I think the other thing as well, this business about a vapor barrier, it comes up really regularly. Some people will use it, some people won't use it. They want to know whether or not you need a breathable on the outside or the inside, or both. And all I can do really is just refer people back to the videos I made, and also to the comments in the sections below the video. If you live in the Northern Hemisphere and you have a timber building like this, you need to have a breathable barrier on the outside because the structure needs to be able to breathe. On the inside, even if you do line it with OSB, basically you will still need a barrier there, but it doesn't need to be breathable. It needs to be it needs to prevent any vapor getting behind it. In other words, you need a thick plastic sheet, and the reason is because if you don't have that barrier there, if you use a place like this on a regular basis, if you heat it, for example, you spend lots of time in here, there's going to be warm water vapor in the air, and over a period of time, I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but it will penetrate through your OSB, and therefore when it hits the colder air on the other side, there's going to be condensation, and whether you can see it or whether you can't, it will materialize over a period of time, and that will cause rot, and over a period of time it will start to detrimentally affect this, your building, your structure. So it does need to be done. As regards to different types of insulation, I'm not an expert on those, so all I can do is refer you back to my video. I use the attic top-up insulation or loft insulation because it's cheap basically, but before buying it I did research it to find out exactly what I needed to do to maintain it, to insulate the property, to keep warmth in, but also as a sound barrier as well, and it works really well indeed. Other than that, the man cave is as dry as a bone also. That's all I can say really on that one, Anthony, but thank you for your questions anyway, do appreciate it. So another question here from Wal Rochford. Hi Des, any news on your car after the bank holiday camping disaster? Well, yes, there is some news on that, and I've recently been back and done another stint down in Devon. This time it was successful. You may recall that my car had a problem. The oil warning light kept coming on, and I overfilled it with oil. I thought it was an oil leak, but I think I panicked a bit really. I just wanted to get near to a destination which I was familiar with and felt comfortable with. So I made my way to the destination in Devon. The following morning I rang a breakdown service who towed me from, well, they didn't tow me, I ended up on the back of a lorry going from Devon back to the East Midlands. So basically, to cut a long story short, it was the oil pressure switch that had gone, and I learned a lot from that episode, and one of the main things I learned was the fact that it became obvious to me how potentially catastrophic it could be by overfilling your engine with oil, because the capacity was about 2 litres, just to get it at the maximum level, and I ended up with about 5 or 6 litres in there, and I actually ran the car for about 23 miles after filling it up for the second time, so that could have been potentially catastrophic. So basically the fix cost me 200 quid, so that included a diagnostic, the new oil pressure switch, and also the labour for fitting it. So 200 quid, well spent. And yes, it's a lot of money, but I'd rather spend £200 than £2.5 on a new engine. In fact, I wouldn't have even gone down that route. I'd have just replaced my car. So thank you for that question, Wal Rochford. Jack Myers, you should make a toolbox or tool shed tour and show us all of your tools. Also, where's episode 17 of the shed? Well, look, you're referring it, Jack, as a shed, but let's be a little bit more diplomatic, shall we? Let's not denigrate it to the realms of a pure shed. This is my little place where I like to go and hide. It provides me with respite. I call it the man cave. I've got all my bits and bobs, all my crap in here. So yes, whilst I would concede that it is actually a shed, let's try and sort of like, let's bolster it up a little bit, shall we? Okay, so look, making a toolbox, well, it would be a nice little project, but I don't need another toolbox. I've got two already, so that isn't something which I'll be making, but it would be a nice little project, to be fair. So a tour of the shed. I'm still thinking about that, and the reason I say that is because you know, whilst it's interesting to see what I've done with it, there's always the potential that I'm actually just advertising all of my stuff, which might make it easier for somebody to identify and break in, if that makes sense. Perhaps that's just me being a little bit paranoid about it. So, you know, not sure about that, still thinking about it. I might do a sort of a very brief overview. I think I might do that actually. I think that would be quite sensible. But yeah, it's all about the safety aspect really. So where's episode 17 of The Shed? Well, Jack, if you have a look at the playlist for the man cave, it's definitely there, my friend. Okay, it's number 17 and it's all about lining the inside with OSB. So, Lost Boy, how's the masonry paint holding up? I've already covered that one, Lost Boy. Thank you for your question. So, a few more questions here then from Lost Boy. Quite personal ones though. How old are you? What do you do for a living? Where do you live? How long have you been married? And how many children do you have? I'll think of more as I go along. Lost Boy, thank you for your questions, but they're all quite personal. And whilst I do post stuff on YouTube, I'm not into the old social media thing where, you know, you tell everybody every aspect of your life. So there's a few personal questions there which I don't really feel particularly comfortable about asking, but anything which I feel happy in disclosing, you'll find in other videos. But thank you for your questions anyway. So, Stagsy. Hi Des, just a question about your concrete repair video you did a while back. Was wondering if you could let us know how it's held up. I need to repair my driveway and have been quoted £3,500 to repair it, let alone dig it up and lay a new one. I'm sure I could do it myself, but I've never tried anything like this myself. Loving your channel. Stagsy, thank you ever so much for your comments and your questions. So the concrete repair then is holding up very well. And it's gone very white, which is in quite stark contrast to the concrete which surrounds it, but that's been down for absolutely ages, so that's probably why. Probably just needs sort of dirting up a little bit really with chuck some soil on there and a hose pipe and you know, dirt it up a little bit just to make it blend in a little bit better. So it's holding up very well. There are one or two minor cracks on the surface of the concrete. I'm sorry to hear first of all that you do have problems with your driveway and it's going to be so horrendously expensive to sort it out. What I do need to emphasise though is the fact that the repair I did was using postcrete. It's not a structural concrete repair in that sense of the word. It's okay if you're walking on it and it has light traffic, but if you're thinking of parking a car on it, it's not going to be strong enough, mate. Okay, so I'll do a little video follow up and I'll refer you to that. So Casper, you always support the channel, thank you very much indeed. The shed is looking a lot brighter. A couple of vent covers for the holes would finish it off nicely, sorry. Yeah, agree entirely. I do actually have a vent cover. I need another one. I'll put one in each corner and you're absolutely right, it would finish it off and it match nicely. Nobody's perfect. I've got a question, Des. I go sea fishing a lot and have to walk a long way, so reducing weight in my rucksack is paramount. I understand that, especially at my age. So I understand that bit as well. So can you recommend a lightweight cooking setup? I want gas ideally as not to make my hands smell of any fuels. That makes sense. So we need a kettle, cooker and perhaps a frying pan and saucepan along with a windshield. I bought a gas cooker a few years back, but it's quite heavy and things have moved on a long way since that time. I would like your expert opinion. Thanks. So nobody's perfect. Thank you once again for your comments and your question. First thing first, I'm not an expert. Having said that, I do quite a bit of camping. I've got quite a bit of kit, some of which I've used, some of which I haven't. I'm going to do a separate video, a short video just showing you what my current camping setup is in terms of, you know, food preparation, water and all that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, there are compromises that need to be made, but I'm going to do one. I hope to do it within the next couple of days, so please look out for that. So, Alistair McKay, what were the results when you took up painting, in brackets, artistic painting that is, as per a video back in the autumn? So this is all about the acrylic paints, Alistair. Thank you for your question. I'd refer you back to the answer I gave some moments ago. Basically, all of the acrylic paints and the card, the still in the box. Haven't got around to doing it, but I do hope to find time in the very near future, and I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into that. So, you know, nothing to report in that regard, really. So Bobby 8270, Bobby, thank you once again for supporting the channel and for your frequent comments and your valuable contribution to the channel. So he asks, I'm assuming it's a he anyway, do you think gold, silver or BTC would be, you know, it's another look, we're talking about the old Bitcoin thing, cryptocurrencies, would be a good investment? Do you think inflation is going to be a problem with all of this currency printing that is backed up by thin air? I mean, look, I'm not an expert. I've never invested in gold or silver or Bitcoin. It's quite an intriguing subject, though, to be honest with you. It does have my curiosity. So I'm not able to comment with any degree of authority. I just know the basics, probably the same as everybody else. I know that in times of economic turmoil, people do invest in gold and silver, but how you do it and what type of investment in gold or silver, or indeed other materials, precious metals such as palladium or platinum, how you actually go about it and what your strategy is. I mean, it's quite complicated, and I certainly don't profess to be an expert on it. I think it's fair to say that if somebody's looking for an investment portfolio, then you should actually own a bit of everything, really, in the right proportions, depending on what your investment strategy is and what exactly you're trying to get out of it. Things like your old cryptocurrencies. Now, I think we've all heard of people who have made fortunes and lost fortunes investing in things like Bitcoin. I personally don't see it as an investment. I just see it as a gamble, if I'm honest with you. But perhaps that's just because I'm being a coward and I don't have money to lose. Yeah, it's not for me, I'm afraid. I don't know enough about it. So look, once again, thank you everybody who asked me those questions. We'll do another Q&A session next month. And if you have any questions which you'd like me to address during the course of the next video, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you. Bye bye.